Wakefield. It's the Ice Team Meme Show starring Nolan Carr. Inviting you to join Nolan and his guest this week, Tyler Krusz, for the Season 2 finale episode of the Ice Team Meme Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nolan. And welcome everyone to a big episode of Big Time Episodes, the season finale. Season 2, Episode 17. It's a big one. I can't believe we're here. Thank you everyone who's been with us since the beginning, who's joined us along the way, and going to join us in the near future. I'm so happy. We've got so many great things. Got a great guest for today, Tyler Krusz. Great stuff to talk about in the news. But if you like what you're watching, just feel free to favorite, subscribe, follow, share, like, all that grand stuff on all the platforms possible so that your helpless can't go on. Anyways, without further ado, let's get to a segment I like to call What Happened This Past Week with Noel Doc. In this, I talk about news, sports, politics, business, health, and so on and so forth. Best of building. But for the news this past calendar week since we last met. Without further ado, let us begin. At the top of the Ice Team Meme Show news cycle, we head to Dallas as we talk about a recent CPAC event that was held there. And no, I'm not talking about a diabetes machine junket. Reportedly, a 4x6 index card listed a seven-part plan was of how Trump will be reinstated as president, which was handed out to everyone like an old lady handing out king-size candy bars Halloween last Saturday night. At this point, this defected crowd might as well just believe WWE is still real at this point. Some sad, unimportant news. Actor Chick Venera, known for starring the Golden Girls, died last Friday at 74 years old. It's kind of sad when the only thing CNN says you're known for in the other title scroll of your death, and it is about you starring a show in pre-Trump country about 4 menopausal women over the age of 50 and their issues of life. A day that was better than the movie industry using fucking color. Dustin Poirier gave Conor McGregor and Dana White a fat Fortnite L. Last week at UFC 264, McGregor broke his ankle at the end of round 1, I should say. Afterwards, McGregor complained more about the results than Trump and Gab after he lost the election in January. Actually, November. And some big money, big business news as billionaire Richard Branson flew to the edge of space in his Virgin rocket plane this past Sunday, fulfilling a goal he set for himself when the company was founded more than 15 years ago. Branson bragged about this like he was 8-year-old. And he was 8 years old, saying he won a season opener in T-ball last night and he lost his tooth. Next time Bronson should brag about paying his fair share of tax with his yellow teeth. After COVID cases in Tokyo rose, fans have been officially banned from the Olympics. So many people across the other side of the world are complaining about this, named Karen, saying their masks cause a rash on their face. They can't go to Whole Foods at 8 a.m. Monday morning. An upset for the ages, the Nigerian men's national basketball team upset the U.S. team 90-87 exhibition Olympic basketball game recently. This was more sad than the U.S. women's soccer team losing to a team of kids who haven't gone through puberty yet. This was so bad, I think even the Charlotte Hornets could have beaten them in a game. A story of surprises. Reportedly, Donald Trump is annoyed with DJT's girlfriend Kimberly Guilfoyle over her new job as a member of disgraced former Missouri Governor Eric Green's Senate campaign team. This is like Marvin Harry's boss saying, they're annoying to someone while he's on the phone with Marvin Harry. If Trump hates her and Antifa really hates Trump, then they must hate her more than McDonald's people hate Burger King. An historic only college and high school girls are about. Britney Spears has scored a small win as she was given the right to have the option to choose her own lawyer for a conservatorship case. Can't wait for the lawyer to ask her questions, only to find out her brain is like Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms in space combined. Some sad news for fake cultured college kids. News: Nick Cage has backed out of the Tiger King movie, causing Amazon to shelve the project. I would have made a joke about this, but what hasn't already been made fun about this ordeal already. And finally, for the final joke of season 2 of the Ice Team Meme Show, married to politics as Angela Merkel makes what will be her final U.S. visit as Chancellor of Germany this past Thursday. This also caused Merkel to hand back the moral leadership to an American president who, quote, actually believes in that. The U.S. was pathetic. It's kind of sad when the U.S. was that pathetic that Germany was the moral and ethical one this time around. That's what happened this past week in the news with Noel Dog. Stay with us. Right back with us, showing our guest for this final episode of season 2, Tyler Krusz. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Noel Dog, yours truly, and the time has come for the season 2 finale episode of the ST Meme Show. If you like what you're listening to and viewing and all that fun jazz, do us a favor, smash that like button, subscribe, follow, share all that grand stuff. It shows me they enjoy it. And I was telling my wonderful guest there, who I'll introduce shortly, that the season 1 finale, I had a wonderful guest, a giant in local sports and at the URI campus. And I said when I first started this down the road, who do I want to end season 2 with? And I said, I have a chance. We'll see. And I thought, no, then my guest today, Mr. Tyler Krusz, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy time as a big time news anchor to come on this little show that I do from time to time. I appreciate it.
You'd be surprised how not big time I am up here, man. Hey, small market. It's fun though. It's a blast. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I haven't been a guest on a podcast in a while, so yeah, this is kind of fun. It's exciting.
Well, yeah, your pal's Stone. He hasn't done his in a while, and Nick Carty, he hasn't done his in a while, so
he hasn't been drinking the coffee with Carty.
No, he hasn't. Although I never really listened to it, to be honest with you, so I got no idea what it is. But he's too busy trying to find a job. But no, that's what it is.
He'll get one. He's talented.
Yeah, he's one of a kind. I'll say. No, but I thank you for doing this. This is as I mentioned a step up from yours from Stone. He's the man of URI Sports, and now you're the big news anchor. And I said that's definitely a conversation I want to have, which I want to mention. Obviously, I know you do it in Michigan and stuff like that. So I'm curious, out of all places, what drove you to doing in good old Michigan, the land of 1,000 lakes, where it is 10,000?
Well, I mean, of all places I applied to, they offered me a job. That was a big part of it. I mean, I wouldn't be up here without that. But I had gotten an offer in early April of last year that didn't work out. And when sports died with the pandemic, I was just thinking, I want to get on TV still. And one of the first news jobs I applied to was up here. I was going to be at the desk 5 days a week and doing the 6 o'clock news. And that was great. And I took that job. I'm up here it started 18 months. I got about 9 or 10 left. But just a couple of weeks ago, they moved me into sports, which was huge. Actually, it was awesome. It just all worked out perfectly like that.
I'm curious. I mean, obviously, you're right. It's not a small school, but it's not like it's humongous for its sports. Although from time to time they are on Sports Center and stuff like that. But I'm curious. After moving from that, now you have to step into the big boy world. I'm sure there are moments where like, holy fuck, what the hell am I doing? Why am I applying this? For you though, after you got the job, after you applied, what was through the mind of Tyler Krusz when he realized this is what his life's going to be like now?
So at first I was actually at the mall at Golf Galaxy I needed a new wedge when I got the call and got the job offer. And I was very excited to finally get the job offer. I wanted to get out of my mom's house. No offense to my mom. I'm just, I'm 22 years old. I'm at that point. And I was excited at first. And then I spent my last, 18 days before I took the drive out there in Rhode Island. And it was kind of sad, but it was also kind of a bittersweet, like I wouldn't be the person, even though I've only been out here 9 months, I can confidently say I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't take this job, Yeah,
no, yeah, definitely. You want to do that. I'm sure it's something where it's like, but should I have done this? Should I have sent
yes.
This in?
It's yes, a lot of the times. A lot of the times it's like that. It's like, oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I was saying it was going from, a part-time job or something like that to covering URI to now this thing where you're more under the microscope in what you do.
Yeah. It was a big transition because I was kind of all over the place at URI. I was never the one guy on the cigar newscast. I was never the one guy writing columns for the cigar. I was doing the radio, cigar, TV. I had the internship at WPRI, worked with Andy Gresh. He was awesome. And I kind of realized after my TV internship that TV is what I wanted to do. And I got up there and I'm like, okay, this is still what I want to do, but it's a step, this is a stepping stone. So it's not I'm doing everything, man. It's kind of fun. I'm out there shooting. I shoot my own stand-ups. I come back. I edit them. It's a typical one-man band out there. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And I'm sure you can put all that thanks towards John Panalone at Journalism 115.
Him and if we are shouting out our professors, Kendall Moore was probably one of the reasons that I'm in
Ah.
TV. She was one of my favorite professors, actually. I liked her a lot.
No, I had her for 110. I didn't have her for the major, but that was it for me. A little too serious and there for myself.
As a sports guy in college, the hard news stuff in class was kind of like, really, man? Like,
Oh
is
yeah.
this really what I have to?
Well, I remember when I had, what was his name? Jason Jacks. And no offense to him, but I hated him. I hated his class. It was the worst ever. And I'll be honest with you. I do this on my laptop. It's not some big, a camera where it's like the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, all that grand jazz. Although it's trying to base my show off this, but I had the little rinky-dink basic cameras and
The burrito cam, right?
yes, the small one, the audio stuff, not too difficult, but me myself could barely do it. And we're like throwing babies into the pool. You better find out. And it was like, oh yeah, you have to. You like, I'm assuming you know how to do this. And then it was then editing 30 minutes of shitty footage of his like a sea lion exhibit, and it was just rough, and I couldn't deal with it. But no, John Panlin was the one few people in that department that got my wheels turned for this. But I'm curious though also between him, because obviously you can't not include him. Besides
Yeah.
that and the internship, which I'm curious about to an extent. And I get obviously the cigar. I can't forget that big operation. Which one was for you more? I don't want to say helpful, but more impactful in the sense of like giving you a good idea of what you want, not just what you want to do, but what to expect now that you're out of college.
I mean, Pantalone was huge. If I had $5 for every time John Pantalone swore at me, I'd pay myself out of student debt. I love that guy. And that's kind of like, nobody's going to baby you in this world.
Yeah.
You got to get your stuff done, and you got to get it done. But the internship, I would say, was fun. Now that I'm in sports now, I'm going to be shooting high school sports coming up in the fall. That's what I did. I did football with them at WPRI. So I was out on my own with my little burrito cam, shooting three high school games a night, bringing them back and watching Maury, Yanni, or Ruthie cut the footage. And I mentioned Yanni and Ruthie, and all three of the Yanni, Ruthie, Maury were huge helps. Maury is going to do great in that role. Yanni's down in Florida now. Ruthie's down in Florida now. They are like, I want to say gods to me, but like those are the people, like if I want to, they're awesome.
Yeah. Now Yanni's in Trump country. He better be careful there.
So am I.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. You say one wrong thing, you're screwed up. That's one thing about the field. Which, I mean, obviously, I don't know what it's like out in Michigan, and I've mentioned this from time to time on here, and I try my best not to do it because I don't want to get anyone triggered too bad. But I don't give a fuck. But in the journalism field, you got to be careful in the last few years because under attack of trying to say the right stuff, and then you gotta
know your audience too.
Yes, which I'm sure definitely in with now that you're in the big boy world, big girl world, you're more under the microscope of trying to make sure you're doing the right thing or saying the right thing, or else there's no redos.
Yeah, there's a lot goes into writing, like in sports now that this is my second full week doing sports. I write my scripts. I look over them. I'm saying stuff like kablamo on the news, but it's a lot better than in news. I would like fold my arms and talk about what the governor's doing and what the Michigan Senate Republicans are doing. And you got to know your audience up here. Like I'd say CNN and the national news, they can be a little more anti-Trump, anti-whatever than local news can, because there are, like Michael Jordan said, Republicans buy sneakers too. They're out there too. Yeah. It's fun. Local news isn't so bad. I was doing, my favorite part was the community interest stories. So I did one story on this guy who was running a pizza shop. His friend had been given a month or so to live, so he was running a special to help out their family. That was one of my favorite stories I did. I went on a field trip, which was a blast. I haven't been on a field trip in 6 years, and I went on a glass bottom boat to check out like shipwrecks in Lake Huron. That was a blast. So yeah, it's depending on the stories. Yeah. But if you're doing what you like and you're covering stuff you're interested in, it's going to come like a conversation a little bit.
For you, it just, I was going to ask something, adjusting to that though, comparing, because obviously, in college, you're more at liberty to, they're still watching you, giving second chances. But for this though, now that you're 9 months into it, almost a year into it, how were you able to adjust, or how easy was it for you to adjust into, now I have to, be careful of what I'm doing, make sure what I'm doing is, 100%, correct.
We have a lot of eyes on ourselves before we even go on TV. So we are reading our scripts out loud with everyone in the newsroom, bouncing ideas off of each other. So, excuse me, when the time comes, it's not my script, it's everybody's script. It's not my words, it's the words that we all came up with on a news team. In college, you were just like, okay, here's what I'm going to say. Let's see if I can go remember that on camera. So it's we have a lot more eyes on us before, like, not even in the outside world. We have a lot more people, a lot more editing going on and stuff like that. So it was a little bit more time consuming, I would say, where it wasn't like sometimes I'd just think of something in my head and go out and say it. I got to write, especially writing a script for a newscast. I had never really done that before. I was I was doing sports all college. So that was a big step. I definitely brought my AP style book rules, book with me to Michigan.
Now I'm curious. I know I don't think you have that big of an ego, but for you, I mean, I know, with the cigar, obviously, first starting out, you're given whatever, is left at the bottom of the barrel. And as you progress up, you get more opportunities of picking what you want. And I would think it's similar to the same thing in the news. I don't know in real life where, you take this story like Spider-Man or whatever it is. For you, though, having to start, from the bottom, and given, I would think, given, whatever story you can get, for you, how were you able to take that, regular or normally, or was it, hard to, deal with having to take some of the more stale stories in terms of, if they're boring or not?
In news, a lot of those stories were stale. Like, I would give anything to go covering URI tennis right now, So yeah, like sitting on city council meetings, that wasn't fun, but I appreciated everything. It was a big learning step. Now I know when I'm applying for my next job, I can look in news and I can look in sports. I've done both. It kind of opens the door for me a little bit, but those meetings were tough to sit through. It was almost like, what am I doing here? Why am I don't even want to do this, So, well, you'd get out of it and they'd be like, okay, well, they're doing this to this building and they're talking to these people, and you'd have 5 stories for the week, but all of them would put you to sleep reading it. But, it just felt like a 9 to 5 almost.
But it's also a thing. How I just, kind of mentioned, you say, like you just said, what am I here? But then it also, it builds you up, to get, move further along, get away from the stories. That's not what I want to be doing for the next 30 40 years.
Exactly, which is cool. I didn't hate doing news. I actually don't know if I said that. I didn't hate doing news at all. But sports is just more for me.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is I'm going to be covering like these small town high school sports. Half of our football teams are 8-on-8. Nothing wrong with that. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm going to be covering that knowing my goal in mind is to cover D1 college. My goal in mind is to cover the Red Sox, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely. Now, I mentioned earlier, a person we had, not just one of the people, but no, you could say one of the people that we have in comments, John Panlon. I'm curious if you can remember. Now, it might have been a while ago. Something might be a distant memory, but John Panlon, obviously, getting to the journalism field at URI, you need to all take 2 or 3 or multiple of his classes. I'm curious what Tyler Krusz as a freshman thought of him compared to what he thought of him now.
So this is an interesting story. Actually, I've loved the guy since I met him, honestly. I started in college as a chemical engineering major and a German major. So I was in the IEP program, planned to study abroad in Germany, and kind of like doing this, I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do. And that's what I learned in my first semester of college. So I met with John Pantalone. I had slept through my 9 a.m. bio class and then dropped all of my engineering classes, walked into his office and declared myself a journalism major. Wow. And that was the first time I met him. And that was fun. And then at the end of that year, he was like, you should take this summer class with me. It's a 300 level class. And I took that, and he was very chill in that summer class. Like, we would shoot the shit it was a 4-hour class. We'd shoot the shit for 2 hours. And I was with Stone in that class, and that was fun. And that was basically my first impression of Pantalone. So that way, when I had the guy as a sophomore, as a junior, and he was making people cry and whatnot, I was like, this guy's funny. How do people not get it? So he has always been to me. I've always understood his humor, and he's always been I would say if I ever need anything, I can go to John Pantalone. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Favorite, 2-parter here. Favorite memory of him and best thing you learned from him.
Oh God. Best thing I learned from him is if you don't know something, don't pretend to. If someone asks you a question you don't know, you say, I don't know. Let me look it up. That's the one thing that sticks with me this whole time. My favorite memory has to be I had a class my junior year. Do you know Ryan Sullivan, Sully?
Yeah.
So
I
it
know
was
him. I don't
me.
know him, but yeah.
Okay, Sully's a goof. It was me, Sully Stone, and Nikki Latt all in one row. Nikki now is working with Waco or in Waco with Baylor and stuff like that. She's doing awesome.
Yeah.
And I was watching March Madness, and Pantalone was passing out papers. We're like 2 minutes before class starts, and he looks at my screen and he looks at me and he goes, "Krusz, get a fucking life." And then he like turns around to the whole class and he goes, "Yeah, I put the G on the end, so make sure he knows I meant it," or something like that. That was probably one of my best moments with him. But that class was funny. I would go back and forth with him all the. He is the man.
I think there's I'll try to make a short, long story short, but I had him freshman year, sophomore year, and then I switched to sports media, whatever it was, the major. And there was one kid in my class who was part of the cigar, this kid Hunter, and street smart.
D'Antonio?
No.
Okay.
He's smart, I'm sure, on the streets. In classroom, I don't know where his head is a lot of times. And he was there, and he always came in late, always had lots of things in his backpack, had his Yankees hat on, and of course, Pantalone, a big Red Sox fan, and he shredded that kid to pieces. And they had a Dodgers hat on one day, and I think it was also around the time when the Dodgers played the Red Sox in the World Series, and Pantalone let him have it in front of a bunch of people, and I think that made the kid switch to some other major because
he switched.
I don't know if it was because of that, but he tore him a new one. And then there was another thing. It was more, not politically friendly. Someone wanted to cover a story of not Me Too, but gender stuff or gender studies, and someone mentioned cisgender to him. Well, Pantalone's probably in his 60s, and he had no idea what that meant. And he argued with the girl, for like an hour and 20 minutes. And the whole back row of his class, because it was a big U shape, were all girls. And they understood it. And he was like, I don't get it. Why do you need to say this if you're that? And the girls were fuming out of their noses. And it was, I was like, holy.
And Pantalone's not even like a right winger. Like he probably wasn't even doing it to trigger them, He just was probably just a confused old man.
Oh, yes. Yes. He would let anybody have. And then, of course, I'd go back and forth with them because someone has to do it. And once I realized that wasn't my field when I'd get pulled out every day of class by him saying, "Are you really fucking trying here? You're getting a 70 every time on this paper assignment." Because my paper looked like a treasure map or something. He's a wonderful man that's got many I don't want to say many flaws, but he's out there. His grandson goes to my summer camp I work at, and he's picked him up a handful of times, and he's a completely different person.
Outside of the classroom. You're a camp counselor?
Yeah.
I did that for every summer during college at the YMCA in Warwick.
Yeah, I did. I started my sophomore year of high school, and I've done it now. This will be my senior year going to your right. But no, he's slow down, quiet, calm, not yelling. He yells at his grandson though when his grandson is in.
The way I can describe Pantalone, this is Ice-T and memes, right? Is that meme of I forget Homer's dad, and it's old man yells at cloud. That's Pantalone, and like it's a double meaning because like the cloud, Pantalone hates technology, anything that has to do with technology. So yeah, he's old man yells at cloud. He's very funny.
Oh, he's I remember I talked with him walking through campus one time about something. I remember what it was. I was switching majors to sports media, and I hadn't filled the paperwork yet. It had been like a semester, and he doesn't like that. So I take a form, bring it to him, and he signs it, and I have to bring it back to Chafee Hall where it was. And like, oh no, this is supposed to be signed this way. Bring it back to him. He's like, what the hell is this bullshit? What the fuck? And then
He's probably not even mad at you. He hates advising.
Yes. So he walks with me over to Lincoln, the Chafee Center, and opens the door. He's like, what the hell is going on here? What the fuck is happening?
I could just picture him like walking you across the hall like an angry parent going to talk to someone.
Oh yeah, I was just like standing in the back, like yards behind him, like what's going on here? And he's like, fuck the other guy. I'm signing that top line. He can sign the other line. Screw him. But no, he's a wonderful guy. He's an interesting guy. It's always grand to see him not having the class because I don't have to deal with him yelling at me anymore, and it's not as embarrassing. it wasn't as embarrassing as URI basketball last year, but we'll go with that. Which
That's a
hopefully,
different story.
yes, that's a different story. We won't say for here because I don't want to jinx. So one thing I want to mention, and it just came out, and I know you're a fan of, which we share as well. Stone does, and it's The Sopranos, the greatest TV show I think
Ooh.
of all time, and they just came out with the finally a trailer for the many.
Many Saints. Did you
And
know that Moltisanti, translated to Italian, is Many Saints?
I saw that on Twitter. I saw someone
Yeah,
posted the Italian poster. I
the
said,
Italian poster. That
very
blew my
interesting.
mind.
Yes,
That was very cool. So
I
I don't
heard,
know if this is going to be mainly about a young Tony, but I know we're going to get Dickie Moltisanti there. I saw a clip of Chris's grave.
yeah.
So I don't know if we're going into the future in this movie as well. But if we are going into the future in this movie, is Tony going to be in the future? Does that mean he walked out of Holston's?
I don't know.
So many questions. I cannot wait
So
till
many
October
questions,
1st.
but I'm curious because it's still 14 years later since it ended, and it still
Yep.
has a magnetism to it that can't be described. But for you though, if you could explain it, because I'm curious. I got Stone's reasoning for it a while ago, but for you though, why do you feel as though 14 years later, after the show has concluded, is there a magnetism in that we're getting this prequel or sequel, whatever it's going to be?
So I heard it was in the talks for a bit.
Yeah.
For some reason in college, I that's the first time I'd seen The Sopranos, and everybody I had been friends with was watching it at that time. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. It just blew up. I have no idea why. I don't know if it was maybe we had a lack of mob movies. The last good, I didn't hate The Irishman, but the last good mob movie I saw was probably The Departed. I couldn't explain it. I know the pandemic definitely had something to do with it because people were locked up, binging The Last Dance, binging The Sopranos. HBO went up by a ton. Yeah, I have no idea, but I think that show is unreal. I think it speaks to any generation. I don't think any generation should watch it, but I think it's the certain age. But I think that it's unreal, and especially I come from an Italian background. My grandmother, her family comes from Naples. And it was to see like Italian family members in that show. I'm like, oh, this is Uncle Junior is probably my favorite character in the whole thing.
I think that's what Stone, which I wanted to mention, ask you if you could. Now you don't have to. Your top three or three favorites, doesn't have to be in any order. Three favorite Sopranos characters and your three least favorite Sopranos characters.
All right, I'm gonna go June, Sil, and I'm stuck here. I like June and Sil. I don't know if I want to put Ralphie and Richie on my favorite or on my least favorite. You know, like Richie was such a compelling character. Everybody was, I was drawn to Richie the second he was on the screen and, you know, broke the coffee pot over Beansy's head. That was but he was such a, Richie, I hated Richie actually. I'll go there. Richie, Janice, and Livia. Livia. She made the show because obviously Tony's not in seeing Melfi for 7 seasons if it's not for Livia, but I hated her.
and I think the best Livia scene there ever was when she died in real life, and then they used the CGI. That was the best realistic thing ever because you definitely couldn't tell.
Not the first time I watched it. The second time I could a little bit because I was looking for it.
Like,
but
wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, I have
and it stinks that she died because they were about to. She was just about to rat Tony out.
Oh yeah.
For those airline tickets, and then the actress died.
Yeah, and she had already, gone whatever it was, started to lose her memory a little bit, so that would have screwed them.
Did she though?
Personally, I think I tend to like the background characters that aren't there a lot. I mean, I do love Paulie. He's the best. Would be canceled.
You like Paulie?
He'd be canceled tremendously nowadays.
Today,
because he lets nothing go. Obviously Junior. I think my favorite. I
like Furio too.
Furio's okay. I wasn't a huge fan of him. I liked him at first, and then he got soft for Carmel at the end. But then again, he didn't. No, I think Junior. What was it? He just had so many lines that also he himself would be canceled a lot nowadays. And no, Junior.
Oh, Junior, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite Junior lines is when they were like, he was out lost or something. They were like, "Oh, it is him. Here's your license, Junior Soprano." He goes, "Go shit in your hat."
that was one of my favorites. I love that. Another one was mine was forget what exactly happened. No, it was he was he was still at home. He was under home confinement or just got out of surgery. And he was making some sort of milkshake concoction, and Tony's there and he spills it everywhere. And then because then Tony was there and he was like, "Oh, well, you look good or something." And he goes, "You're gonna fucking play with me. You better tell me there's a bra in the car waiting to tongue my balls." and then what's his name? What am I forgetting his name? He's been on Blue Bloods, fat dude.
Bobby,
yes. Oh, that's
Bobby
stupid. I forgot. Bobby walks in and Junior looks over and goes, "How many White Castles did you have?" And and he goes, "I can smell them from here." But I think one of my other favorite characters, and it's probably my favorite scene there, was with Little Polly, and they're at the work site, and he turns to Patsy and says, "Oh, how did your girlfriend like the jewelry?" And then he goes, "Great." And then something goes back and forth, and Eugene smashes the Snapple bottle over his face, and after remarks about saying how ugly their girlfriends were, because one had sideburns, one had a mustache like a fireman. It was great. Then I also like, which is a really obscure character, which is Murph Lupo, who babysat Junior and later in the show. Clueless guy, doesn't really know what's going on in the show, but is there. Oh, I like the Terminator, Bobby's father. That was another one.
Oh, Bobby Senior. That's one of my favorite episodes. Is
Yes.
Another Toothpick.
Yes.
That one, and then the Pine Barrens. Definitely my favorite episode is the Pine Barrens.
I think, and I can't forget Feech Lamanna, one of my favorite characters as well.
You like Feech?
He's also another guy who just is from a different generation that doesn't care what he says, and his altercation with Paulie at his bread store, and they just go at it. He's one of a kind. I'm curious. They have Sopranos Con in New Jersey. Would you ever go to it?
Yes, that's what I would love to go to that and meet some of the old actors. I would love that. I know Tony Sirico's still kicking, the guy who played Paulie. I would love that. Paulie actually, he was a mobster in real life, Tony Sirico.
Yeah, he went
and they asked him,
like how many times it was, I forgot it was.
They were like, "You want to be in the show?" And he goes, "As long as I don't play a fucking rat."
Oh yes, and that almost happened once or twice, but I remember they had it. I forget where it was. I think they've always had it in New Jersey or something like that. Or no, yeah,
the Meadowlands.
Yes,
I think they usually have it.
And I know this year they're having Atlantic City, because then they also have a mob movie thing. But I remember they were in Rhode Island at one point for doing some broadcast thing. But I remember I heard that Tony Sirico was there last year, 2 years ago. And I heard it was a long day for him, so he started to get a little moody, and his old attitudes came out. But
that's actually really funny.
Yeah, and he still has the wings, but I would love to go, but that's New Jersey, and it's a lot of money that they're racking.
Still
up.
New Jersey, yeah.
Still New Jersey. Still nowadays, I don't know if all those rats from New York have made it to.
You have to wear a mask just driving the highway there, so you don't smell it.
Yeah, that's not the best. What are your hopes though for the prequel or sequel, whatever you want to call it, that's coming out?
I really want to get an insight into Chris's dad, Dickie Moltisanti. I think that you heard his name so much in the actual show, and I want to see what Livia, like being Livia and John's son, was like for Tony. For like a young Tony, because we all know what Tony was like as an adult. Now we get to see why he was like that, why he was in therapy all these times, why he passed out all the. I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. I think good or bad, I'm going to love it,
Do you think if this does well, they get like a sequel show or anything like that? Or is this just, the end of it all?
I want to say this is the end of it all, but if they do something, I could see a spin-off Chris series.
Now, one of the last few questions I'll ask, so I can let you get on your way. Let's say that happens. Now, David Chase is up there in age. He's in his 70s. He's not young anymore. Do you think he would come back to do that, or would he let someone else that's always involved with the stuff to do it?
If this happens, I think Chase already has it written and in a lockbox somewhere. I seriously, I think if they do a spinoff, it's because Chase has already had it written. I think that might be another reason why they're doing this movie. Chase had it written.
Yeah.
I think I don't think he's going to be writing a whole nother show at his age. Yeah, you're right. So if he doesn't have it written, I don't see anything.
It's a wonderful thing. I know that I remember him saying, which mind boggles, that they already knew the ending of it before they even started the first season.
Oh God, of the show.
Yeah, The Sopranos. I think.
Oh, so he's definitely dead then. Forget it.
No, I no, because I remember hearing that somewhere. I forget it was that either him or someone else knew what the ending was of the show was when they first started during season 1.
Huh.
So he's an
I
interesting.
heard that they used to shoot multiple takes of each scene, like just different ways to shoot each scene, and they wouldn't tell the actors which one. So like they'd have like multiple storylines
Oh,
shot, and they wouldn't tell the actors which ones they're putting in the show, so nothing got leaked ever.
well, yeah, and because you with anything successful, everyone's like, oh, what happens? What happens? And they always have to say, oh, I don't know. And I guess they truly don't know. Last question to ask you, Mr. Krusz, if you could think of one. Now, there have been many moments, many scenes, many quotes in the show over the years, but what Sopranos quote do you think best represents your life and yourself? If you could think of one.
Oh, that's a very good one. You're gonna have to give me a minute on that.
Okay.
Probably. All right, I got it. Right now, we're just two assholes lost in the woods. That's how I feel 90% of the
There
time.
you
Just
go.
an asshole lost in the woods trying to find my way.
That's something you could find in a Twitter or Instagram bio.
Yeah, right. We're just right now. We're just two assholes lost in the woods.
Yeah, that's a excellent one. I'm trying to think of. Oh, I think one for me now. I don't know. I didn't put much thought into this one, but there's a scene where Junior is at home and he's lost his memory by now, and he's at home and forget who the guy was. A new guy, Tommy, where was watching, and they have no, it wasn't. It was Bobby was there, and he's watching the court scene, and they show the caricature of him. He goes, "What am I, fodder for fucking cartoons now?" or the other one where he's fully into dementia, and Curb Your Enthusiasm comes on.
Is on. He was like, "That's me.
That's me. That's Bobby. That's my show." But no,
That was so funny.
Mr. Krusz, I thank you for your time coming on to the
Oh,
show.
thank you.
Before your big night on the 11 o'clock news, I appreciate it. I appreciate that someone, now that you're in the big world, took the time for someone who, although it's been quite some time that we've been in the same place at the same time at URI in a while, that you still wanted to take the time to do this. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I loved URI. Anything I can do to help, and anything you need from me ever. You have my number now. You have my email. Anything you need, feel free to reach out.
I appreciate it. And for all those watching, I know Tyler here, before he goes, really wants you to do it. If you enjoyed what you're listening to, watch that. Do us a favor, subscribe the hell out of YouTube, like and follow on audio platforms, because let's be honest, I know for a fact Nick Cardy and Stone Freeman didn't do this on their show. So I'll do this for mine, because I want to be the best here ever, because eventually I want to make this big time. So then years from now, when they see this episode of me and Tyler Krusz, the season 2 finale episode, say, holy shit, this old stuff was classic. It was great. Because now look at Tyler. He's covering the Olympics 20 years from now. And it's going to be great. So everyone, please do us a favor. We'll see each other soon. And in the words of a role model and an icon in the business, Johnny Carson, I bid you all a heartfelt good night. See you soon.
Have a good one.